Is it doing it?
It didn't do the intro again. That is so weird. Like
this sneaky software.
Honestly, like this, it just decides when it wants to do it and it doesn't.
Yeah. Here's the intro, guys.
WF representing Palace, so let's tell you about Palace. Rolling straight to the ceiling, crowns and crystals, top like journeys, dishing out malice. Hold up, South London's grandest, far from bandits. Anything earned for a goal of elevation, just passing the team over here might finish out bright future we can't vanish. SE25 any day, that's sellers. Rev up the engines, no more reverse reactions, fan cams, bands on stream. Share up the team, support the dream team when Eagles fly, make noise and schemes. Dare to dream or dream to dare, taking a step to become supreme.
Yes, guys. Welcome back to Eagle Ad Football. And welcome back to TACT-EAGLE. The show where we talk about the tactics for the upcoming game. And the upcoming game is Crystal Palace versus Aston Villa at Villa Park. And it is a 3 o'clock kickoff on the Saturday. And Dan has got the date wrong again.
Have I? I thought it was the 23rd, no?
It's the 11th, not the 10th.
Oh, yeah. Oh, God.
Oh
dear. Oh, well.
As always, I'm joined here with Mr. Statman Dan himself. How is it going?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to November coming up. I'm good. Obviously, the international break was a nice break for all Palace fans.
Yeah.
However, obviously, it's always good to have the Premier League back, as always.
Yeah,
how you doing?
Yeah, that weekend, I felt like I did nothing, even though like it was a weekend and stuff was happening. Just no football just made it a bit horrible, really.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, it is what it is. A third international break of the season. We're not even 10 games in yet.
I think the next one's March. I think I believe
February.
Oh,
we 3 months of football.
That's only 3 months, really. Now we got about 5 games a week for the next 2 months.
Yeah, and we've got no squad depth. Brilliant. I think before we even start, I think we need to say Villa haven't changed much. So if this one's maybe a little bit less tactical and a bit more opinionated, then definitely go back and watch the previous Villa one, because they haven't changed how they play, who they have at all, really.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're pretty consistent. Apart from adding like a couple new players, it's very, very, very similar.
To be fair, it's just Morgan Rogers, isn't it? That's probably the only one that's sort of come around a little bit now.
Well, I know Nana, but then obviously we just said he's injured, isn't he? So
we haven't said that yet, but you know, spoilers.
Spoiler.
Let's get into our predicted 11s. I don't know about you, but on my one, it doesn't play the music. It's just silent for me.
No, I heard it on mine.
That's strange then. Okay.
And normally when I'm the one who click, I can normally hear it as well.
Okay, that's strange. I might need to clear my cache. Just like someone that's in Aston Villa's team. Oh.
Oh dear.
That.
I just noticed it's Bundy.
So for Crystal Palace, I have gone with Henderson in goal, Mitchell, Mark, Lacroix, Chalobah, Munoz at the back. Glasner, been off displaying Klein at left centre back. That was an awful experiment and never do it again. And I think he realised that at half time. That's why he did a madness, but is what it is. Will Hughes is back. And I never thought I'd be happy to say that any season before this season, but Will Hughes is back from his suspension. He'll be gone again before Christmas, because that's another 5 games and he'll be, you know, another suspension, but it'll be 2 games this time. Jefferson Lerm is apparently back. I'm going to put him in here because he normally recovers from injury pretty well. His injury wasn't too bad. I'm sure it was like a muscle hyperextension, I would say, not a tear, not an injury of sorts, just sort of nursing him back. So he's taken a little while to come back. I've gone with Ismail Assar on the right, Agbenone to get his first start on the left because really and truly, without Kamada, without Eze, there's no one else. And then JP up top because he is our only striker at the moment. If we look at our injuries, it's França, Wharton, Riyad, and Nketiah are all injured. Eze, we're not going to risk him. Hughes and Lerma, I would say, are back and in contention. Rob Holding is chilling with the under 23s, and Daishi Camardinho has been given a lovely holiday, let's say. Dan, do you agree with this? And are you happy that potentially we're going to be going back to the back five we have been playing?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that was the kind of like the beginnings to obviously what we did well against Spurs. And again, I still don't know how we didn't manage to beat Wolves that day, play well that day. Yeah, I agree with all of that. It's assuming that Abera Eze is still injured and he won't play. I mean, the only other option I think you can even consider playing in that left spot is, yeah, no, it is. I'm not going to say it because it's making me feel sick already. So, but we all know
Ghana.
who I'm talking about. Actually, he was born in Hamburg, which is ironic, isn't it? Really.
Well, you know he was chasing around against Fulham.
Oh yeah. Oh God. Well, at least there's no one in the team called Bacon or anything like that. But
I mean, Telemans is a telly, so you know if he's lazy, you want to chase him around.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I think that's the best we can do, really, isn't it? I think Decore, you can't really start him.
I wouldn't risk it either.
Not when Hughes is actually fit, and Lerma is likely to be pretty much on the way to being completely fit. I guess I can see you got Uma down there. I know he's there normally anyway, but potentially he could be in with a shout with Agbenone if maybe he wants maybe a more inside kind of player. Because I feel like Agbenone tends to be more like I feel like he's more of a winger rather than like a left-sided 10.
To be fair, we just need someone that can run and drive with the ball. So I don't think positionally, I don't think it really matters. But then again, though, even if he does stay wide, it probably gives Mitchell another option if he does push forward. So it might not actually be the end of the world on that left-hand side.
Yeah, absolutely. And John, I'm only going to say it just because I've seen Sar's already getting some pelters in the comments. I think Sar will be, assuming we play okay, I think he could be very important in this game for considering how Villa defend. So watch his space.
Also, Daniel Munoz might actually not play. Basically, in his transfer to Crystal Palace, there were some agency fees that he didn't pay, so they're suing him.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I'm sure he will play, but that's quite funny.
Agency fees. I mean, come on. How much can it be? Like, how much is he on? He's got to be on at least like 50, 60 grand a week. Like, how can he not? Come on.
I don't know, but it's funny. So we could have Klein in there instead. So, you know, it's not the end of the world, but it kind of is. Moving on very swiftly to Aston Villa. They're set up in a 4-2-3-1. Looks very, very different when they have the ball, when they don't have the ball, but this is sort of how Unai Emery sets out the team. So in goal, we've got Martinez, and we've got Digne, Torres, Konsa, and Cash at the back, with Telemans and Kamara as the holding midfielders, with Jadon Philogene, who I've been chatting about for ages, and Villa have scammed their way to get him back for free, basically. On the left, John McGinn on the right, Morgan Rogers in that centralised 10, with Ollie Watkins up top. Looking at their injuries, Onana's injured, Jacob Ramsey is injured, Matson, Konsa, Torres, Kamara, and Cash, and also Barkley, they were all meant to be returning for this game specifically. So very Crystal Palace for those players to all come back in the game against us. But Dan, are you in agreement with this team? Would you change anyone, or do you think they'll do anything else?
I mean, it's just, injuries dependent, isn't it? Really, like if Cash isn't available, I imagine he'll probably stick Konza wide and then Carlos in the middle.
Yeah.
The only other thing he could potentially do is maybe play Bailey on the right hand side instead. But besides that, that's probably what he'll go for.
Well, to be fair, just look at the bench that I've got there. Like, you could replace Digne for Maatson. You could replace McGinn for Bailey. You could put Duran and Watkins up front together and remove a midfielder. You could put Bundia in instead of Rodgers. Like, you could do anything there.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Cool. Let's go through some comments before we move on. Big Up Nicky says, "Yeah, the Premier League is back." Said no Palace fans. Chairman saying, "Big up all the way from New York." He's picked to go on holiday in an international break. That's a football fan right there.
Nice. Is Chairman's going to see any football when he's out there? Is MLS even on at the moment? Actually,
I've got no idea, but he went to watch some basketball the other day.
Oh, nice.
And he did a little vlog for it, but there's so much copyrighted music in it. I don't know if we could put it out, but you know, it's the thought that matters. I think we are in for a hiding on Saturday. Still no team to speak of. The dog says,
"Big up the dog."
Big up. Saar, the running man ain't good. He's good at running though. Ume makes sense as Mateta's backup if he gets injured.
I think he was a striker when he was at Cork.
Yeah, I would maybe put Zach Marsh there. He can find the goal. You know, maybe if Agbenone doesn't or isn't what Glasner wants, there's always Sean Derry, who's doing really well.
Sean Derry.
Jesse Derry. He's doing very well.
Not Sean.
Yeah. Sean Derry couldn't find a bloody goal even if he's standing in front of it. But, you know, Jesse Derry as well. So you've got people in the youth that you can bring on or bring through that can find the goal, but are they going to be successful in the first team? I doubt it, because it's an enigma for any youth player to come in and smash it like what Aaron did. But, you know, never say never. And Devaney didn't do him. So, I mean, he didn't disgrace himself. He did play well. I think Agbenone in his few chances he's had has played well. So that's the only reason why those guys wouldn't be good enough at the moment. And the dog haven't kept up to date in the international break. Is Eze fit for Aston Villa? He has a potential return date for this game. So looking at Prem injuries, he's only got a 25% chance of playing. So I would highly doubt it. He might be on the bench, but I highly doubt he'll even get on the pitch, because I'm sure he actually got injured at Villa Park in the Cup like a few weeks ago.
Yeah, he did.
To be fair, I don't think they would risk him, because they risked him in the first place playing against them in the Cup. I highly doubt they'll do it again, especially when Christmas is coming up and, you know, 3 games a week. It's not worth it. We need him fit for then. Also, on a little side note, they're saying that Adam Wharton is going to be back by the end of the month. So apparently his surgery wasn't actually groin surgery or something else. But
I thought originally they said that the surgery would only going to be like 3 or 4 weeks or something like that.
Yeah.
I thought that was like the original kind of thing, and then that's why everyone got the ump, because they were like, well, why didn't you do it now when there's an international break, etc., etc.
They went, I bet we'll do it.
Yeah. And then he went off injured at Villa Park, funnily enough. So, what a place. Just a reminder, everyone, we haven't won there in the league since...
Dwight Gale, no?
Yeah, we said it on the other stream. Hang on. Oh, whoops, sorry.
I mean, it's almost as if that Villa game in the Cup was very similar to Luton last year, wasn't it?
Dwight Gale.
Well, we got Decore and Elise got long-term injuries in that game. Oh, no, Eze got a long-term injury as well as Decore in that game against Luton last year at Luton away.
Yeah, because I think Elise came on and scored, I'm fairly sure.
But he came on like really late, though.
Oh, yeah.
Because he just came back from an injury.
Yeah, I think that was the ironic thing. I think he came on for Eze.
Oh, well, it is.
Anyways,
what it is.
Yeah.
I will go first with the attack. Let's get into it. So, nothing much has changed, but I'll run you through the basics. They are extremely fast when moving the ball from the back to the front. And what I mean by this is the fact that the second they would have the ball... Oh, nothing's moving. Okay, I'm back. Let me move.
You were moving on my screen, by the way.
Oh, that's a bit strange then. Oh well. Let me move these players around just a little bit. Cool. So, how they attack. They are a team that they'll keep the ball. They've got quite high possession stats. You know, they'll keep the ball. They'll do their nice passing. They always want to give each other options. So you will see everyone in this sort of spine. So Rodgers, Telemans, Kamara, Konsa, Torres. This sort of spine through the middle here, they always want to give each other options. And the reason for this is because they have this play style of they want to get the ball progressed into the midfield, and as soon as possible, they want the person receiving the ball at the end of these like nice little passes to be able to turn and run. And they do this because they want to make it go from 0 to 100 real quick. And that's really going to be a staple for how Unai Emery has been playing over these last few years. So, as an example, let's say the ball's being passed between Telemans and Konsa and Torres, and the ball's just going around. Let's say Konsa gets the ball here, and we think, yes, we're going to press here. So Bateta tries to block up that passing lane, Agbenone here and here. What you'll see is because in this situation we would only have one midfielder to block out two players to pass to. So we have to be very aggressive with this press. But if we're not, Konsa is more than capable of lifting a ball into this pocket here, but Rodgers will not be the one to pick up the ball here. What you'll see is Rodgers run, I guess, past the ball, bring Lerma with him, with Watkins to drop in, and then what you'll see is Watkins will turn and he'll see three runners in front of him, and basically he'll either pick a pass through for someone to run onto, or he's more than confident enough to drive with the ball himself to then cause one of our centre-backs to then step out, and then if he steps out and he can pick a pass through, then literally you're 3-on-2 on goal. So they want to go from back to front as fast as possible. And with that one move that I explained, they've got different elements to it as well. So another element to it is they have runners. They want us to be in a high line, which is what we are playing. They want to have all of this space in behind to run into. I'll probably get into this a little bit later, but because of our fast centre-backs, this maybe isn't actually going to be as useful to them as it might be against, I don't know, Manchester City, let's say, because their centre-backs aren't the fastest in the world, so they can actually run in behind against them. But with our centre-backs, they're actually decently quick. So we might actually be able to get away with a high line against these guys. But it doesn't stop the fact that if Morgan Rodgers has picked up the ball and he's dribbled through people, no matter how fast our centre-backs are, without the ball, most forward players will be able to run on that same line. And also, if someone's got the ball here, like Rodgers, if he's running with a ball, our centre-backs aren't going to be sprinting all the way back, because then if that happens, then this will happen, and it'll just allow Rodgers to, move the ball further forward. So we're not going to kill ourselves running away from the ball. We have to stand them up. We have to mark our space. And that's where our sort of zonal marking comes into it. We want to try and make it as hard as possible for people to play through us. But with how Villa play, they sort of take advantage of being zonal. To be successful against them, you have to be man-to-man, I would say. And because of that, they want runners. And with runners, it's very difficult to defend against, especially if you've got three people making those runs every game, like multiple times a game. The centre-backs are going to track them. But the one time they don't, might be the one time that the ball actually finds them. And I think that's something that Thierry Henry was talking about when he was talking about him being a striker and what Mbappe needs to do better. He needs to run in behind more. Because granted, if you don't get the ball, you don't get frustrated. You just do it again. And that's exactly what Unai Emery's got with these three players here. He's got them to be drilled and just do it over and over and over again until they get the ball. Because when they get the ball, then they've actually got a very clever plan behind it as well. So let's say that the ball's played over to Philogene and he's gone one-on-one with Chalobah. What will happen here is you'll see two people gambling straight towards the goal. And my guess is that Lacroix and Mark will be fast enough to keep up with this counter-attack. And what they will do is they've got two separate, I guess, set plays for this scenario. If Philogene is ahead of Chalobah in this situation, where he's got more than enough time to whip the ball in, what will happen is Watkins will try and stay in front of the defender, and so will McGinn. But if obviously they're behind, they'll try and make that run, that sort of curved run down here, to then meet the ball for when it's cut in to kick it into the net. That's a very standard set play here. However, if Chalobah is, I guess, in front of him or beside him, what you'll see is a slightly different play from Aston Villa. What you'll see is these players will still commit all the way into the box. Let me just grab Henderson so he don't go off the pitch. All these players will commit straight into the box and go like really deep. But Rodgers will also be following. He's not going to pass the ball and stop. He's going to follow them all the way in. And then you'll see Philogene do a nice little chop, lay it off to Rodgers, and he'll have a whack. Or Philogene will cut inside and have a shot himself. You've seen this a lot of time on this side with McGinn, actually. Probably more often on this side with McGinn. You'll see him cut inside, see a pass to Rodgers. The centre-back will, or the defender will commit out. He'll take another touch inside and then have a shot to the far post. I think that's how they scored against... Who did they play last? I think Fulham. No, it's not Fulham. Liverpool. I think they drew again. No.
They lost. They lost to Liverpool, but they...
Who did they draw 1-1 with?
For Bournemouth.
Yeah, there you go. That's exactly how they scored against Bournemouth.
Mm-hmm.
Where he cuts inside, centre-back commits, takes another touch, and then whips it far post anyway. So they are very, very good when running in behind. They've got different starts. They've got different plays to do with different situations. What else have I got here? So when I set up the team, you could see that the I guess the wingers were pretty narrow. They were sort of like inside 10s, like what we have.
Mm-hmm.
The reason for this is because they get their width from their wing backs. So when they're attacking and when they're moving forwards, these guys will be the ones giving the width. More times than not, if the ball's on one side, the other one will drop, and then they'll sort of drop into a 3 at the back. And that's the same thing on this side. So if Digne's up, they'll sort of shuffle across and they'll do this. This is probably why I think that if Cash is injured and Konsa plays there, that's why this formation works really well, depending on injuries as well. So granted, they might not be as good attacking down that right-hand side, but defending, they'll be so much more stronger and compact because they'll have 3 centre-backs instead of just 2 and a full-back.
Mm-hmm. You've gone a bit windy on the thing.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Am I doing better?
No. Just to answer your question, Caleb, Onana's injured. So he won't be playing, which is good for us. There you go. It's a lot better.
Better?
Yeah, perfect.
Okay. If you haven't noticed already, McGinn and with Philogene, and even if you put Bailey or Bundia, so let me just put those players there. So you got these players there, and you got these players here. Dan, is there one thing that these players have in common with the person that they're standing next to?
No, I don't know.
Their strong foot is a cut in and shooting foot, basically. So their strong foot is on the opposite side of what the wing they play on, basically. So every single person here, Buendia, Philogene, both have a right foot and they play on the left. McGinn and Bailey both have a left foot, but they play on the right. They want to shoot. They want to score goals. So that is important. And I think the last thing to say is that their manager isn't afraid to make a change. If something's not working, they will make a change. So
I think, sorry, JC. I was just going to say, I think they've got the second most subs this season.
Yeah, because I think that's to do with, one, that the manager can see things early and change things, and two, they've actually got brilliant squad depth as well.
Mm-hmm.
So you will see if they can't score and they're struggling, you will see him. I don't know. He'll pull off Kamara. He'll push these guys up a bit more, and then just whack Duran on as well. And then they sort of go to a 4-2-4. So he's very flexible and able to change. How do we defend against this? I don't know. I'm joking. I have an idea. It's one of two things, in my opinion. The first one is you drop off. You leave as little space in here as possible for them to run in behind to. If their bread and butter is running in behind, try and give them as least space as possible to do that. I don't think we're going to do that. I think that's a stupid idea. Why would you let world-class strikers be closer to the goal? Especially when they've got good players to play the ball through us, let's say. So I don't think that's going to happen. The other thing is, I think what we will do, and what I hope Glasner will do, if we employed a press similar to how we pressed against Tottenham, they are good at the back. They are good at passing out from the back. Konsa, Torres, very, very press-proven. Telemans, Kamara, very press-proven. Rodgers as well. The issue comes with their press-proven players when it comes out to the fullbacks. Digne has only got a left foot. Cash has only got a right foot. I'm not saying that they're bad on the ball. I'm just saying that they're not as good as these guys. So the fullbacks, in my opinion, would be the press triggers. And I think we need to be very aggressive with our press. Because as I said with the example I gave you earlier, Konsa's more than comfortable to lift that ball into here with Rodgers. However, if the same case was with Cash, if we were sort of in this kind of press, I don't think that he's got I wouldn't say he's got the facilities, but I don't think he's going to see that pass into the middle here. I will see him knocking one down the line, and then I can almost guarantee that Mark is going to beat McGinn to this ball here.
Mm-hmm.
So that would be what I would do. I would highly encourage the press. It's definitely risk reward. We have to keep our centre-backs up high, but because of our centre-backs being so quick with their pace, I don't think it's going to be the end of the world if they do run in behind, because I do think we'll be able to get back. Lacroix's put in some incredible performances running back and putting in last-ditch tackles. Mark's done it as well. The only concern here might be Chalobah. He's dropped a few clangers so far this season. I think 2 against Wolves, another one against whoever we played last. It was so long ago, I can't remember. Fulham, yep.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe Chalobah is I wouldn't be surprised if their route forwards is through Chalobah because of his mistakes he's made the last few games.
Mm-hmm.
I'll say that.
Yeah, I think, to be fair, I think even if, say, like Cash did manage to find that ball, to us, even if Konsa found that ball to that Rodgers area, I think if Lerma kind of stays back a bit and like kind of man marks him and Lacroix man marks Watkins, I wouldn't bet against like us doing well in the air with those two players on those two players.
Yeah, I think Lerma would be huge in the air here.
Mm-hmm.
But what you have to say is that even if I guess Lerma does man mark Rogers and Rogers pulls over here, Telemans has got lots of space because we've only got 2 man in midfield and they've got 3.
Yeah, true.
But that's probably where I would be very happy with Lacroix being such an aggressive centre back because he, in theory, could step up and maybe stop. Like if a ball was to land in this area, he would be able to, like, I guess, run into midfield and challenge for it as well. Obviously, it'll mean a lot of coordination with Chalobah having to cut in, Munoz having to do this for this one move, for this one interception potentially. But it's still something that is not out of the realms of possibility because Lacroix has done that multiple times. Mark can do it as well. I think Chalobah's done it a few times as well.
Yeah, I think they need. I think the thing is, our back three need to be aggressive anyway for us to be effective.
And that's how Glasner plays as well.
Yeah.
And I think the last thing, most likely Dan's going to talk a little bit more about this when he speaks about how they defend and how we should attack. But let's just put us back here. And then I think I said this in the last one as well when we was talking about Villa. But Villa are very good at camping you in your own area. And they're good at this because if they feel confident, they will put both their fullbacks up and they'll sort of play like this with, I guess, 2 man in midfield, just sort of popping the ball inside here. And then they'll only have 2 at the back here, not really taking up much wide space, but both of them sort of in the middle. And we will be defending deep like this. But what I would say is I would sacrifice 1 or maybe 2 of our forward players and just play them out here. Because what it means for us is it means that if we can intercept the ball or grab the ball, it means we have 1 or 2 routes out at all times. And because of this, I don't think they're going to push their fullbacks up as high as they would be doing if we didn't do this. So it's sort of like attack is the best form of defense. So as long as we've got 2 players up or 2 players out, they're not going to commit absolutely everything forwards. I think the best thing, the thing that reminds me most of this when we did this previously was when whenever we used to have a corner, we would always put Zaha on the halfway line. And that's because they would always put their 2 fastest players on the halfway line just in case the ball got lofted through to Zaha to run onto. So it's almost the same thing, but without a set piece. But that's how I think we should defend. Press them high, be quick on the ball, and also leave some players up top. Don't fully expose ourselves with removing players from our midfield, let's say, but leaving 1 or 2 of our forward players always up so that we've always got a route out and so that they can't be completely comfortable when pushing forwards in their press.
Yeah, I think that's pretty spot on, actually.
Anything else?
No, I think that's spot on. That was pretty much exactly what I kind of had in mind with Villa as well. Yeah, they're a bit of a they're a very unique team, I think, in the way that they play. But yeah, that's quality.
A few comments before we go into the defense. I think you addressed one already. Yeah, he's injured, unfortunately, or fortunately for us. Rich says, can the international break be longer? And finally, Rich says, spot on there. They play a high line too. Need to knock the ball into the channels.
Yeah, spoilers, Rich. But yeah, that is pretty much what I'm going to say in the next sort of 5 minutes. Right.
Let's go into the defense.
Defense. Anyway.
Defense.
Oh, whoops! Sorry,
that's my one.
That's your one. Sorry, this is my one. Apologies. Right. So, does it look really small on there, or maybe I just use smaller icons? I don't know.
You normally have the small icons.
It's not about size; it's about how you use them. Right. Anyways, without dwelling on this smut, some opening kind of stats just to So Aston Villa's home record is actually not very good this season. They ranked 12th in this season. They didn't seem like they've played any particularly massively hard teams at home this season, off the top of my head. So it's not due to that. They just haven't seemed to have performed at home as well. However, that said, they haven't conceded more than 0.9 expected goals in a league game at home this season. The only teams to do that against them was Bayern Munich. And obviously, we are not Bayern Munich. So just going to put that one out there. They rank 7th in the league for expected goals against. They're nothing like crazy. They're pretty good. And they concede on average 0.1 expected goals per non-penalty shot. However, they do have the 5th fewest opponent touches in their box. But I've got a feeling that, like, you see 7th in terms of expected goals, but then you see 5th in terms of opponent touches in their box. You're thinking, okay, well, maybe the touches that are in their box therefore end up being more valuable, if that makes sense. But yeah, that's what they will do. One other thing just to kind of mention is when they are losing by a goal, they do seem to go for it. They actually average per 90 2 expected goals when they are losing, which I find very, very interesting. So like what JC was saying, they haven't really changed a lot in the way that they defend. I'll start with how they look in a low block. Admittedly, this low block doesn't really happen that often, but generally what happens is they will have their 2 central midfielders in the middle. They'll have probably Watkins and Rodgers kind of like in a similar position here. And then where the Rodgers and Watkins can be used as kind of like outlets. And then generally what happens on the wings, it kind of goes to like a 6 at the back, depending on what happens. So let's chuck all our players in here. Let's say we've got 2 players on the, let's say Sarr is holding the width and Munoz is maybe more in that half space channel there. So I've spelled Agbanone's name completely wrong. So let's say that we are looking something like this, which I maybe not put in there, maybe put in there. So on and so forth. Now it depends because they don't necessarily. It's not necessarily a back 6. It's not like they just automatically go like this. It's more like they just go man for man with the wingers. So if you've got these 2 players here, they'll go man for man and try to back themselves in a 1v1. And to be honest, they are good in 1v1s as well. So the percentages I got, Matty Cash wins 50% of his 1v1 ground duels. Digne wins 64%, which is a lot higher than I expected. 57% for McGinn. And Ramsey, who I know is not playing, is on 60%. So with that in mind, as a little spoiler, maybe this guy, Philogene, is not a defender. That was a Billie Jean, really bad Billie Jean type joke. But anyway, yeah, so they go man for man and they back themselves. And to be fair, normally they do well. But you won't really tend to see this that often because they much prefer a mid block with a high line. Now, when you see this, it will look high line. It will be a formation that everyone thinks it had died out when it didn't. It's been around for ages. Defensively, a lot of teams defend in a 4-4-2 type shape. So if anyone tells you it's died out, they just don't really know what they're talking about.
Yeah, proper Sean Dyche. None of this woke nonsense.
None of this woke nonsense. And Unai Emery is definitely not a woke kind of guy, apparently. But anyways, this is how they'll look. And you know why do they do this? Let's say we've got the ball here. The purpose of the 2 is generally a lot of teams will play a double pivot, so that kind of covers that. And if someone, you know, if we do manage to maybe I don't know, Hughes makes a clever run here and drags Watkins with him, and I don't know, maybe someone drops, Benone say drops. What will happen is the midfielder will follow them, if they are facing with their back to their goal. So if Agboni's facing this way, he'll get chased back to then try and pass back to our defenders, and then they'll just go back into their shape. Same thing here. Let's say Gay passes the ball to Mitchell. Whoever's on this right-hand side, so McGinn, will try to close this down, and you try and force Mitchell back, basically. And that's essentially what happens, to be honest. And they do this pretty well. But we'll look at some of the exploits in a minute. But that's basically how it is. In terms of a high press, they don't really, like, if you're building up, say, from a goal kick or something like that, they don't really tend to press. The only time they ever really press is if, say, the defenders receives it and they're facing our own. If, say, Lacroix gets the ball facing our own goal, that's the only time when they'll try and make something happen, and then they will all try and go for it, so on and so forth. So how do we try to combat this? Well, I think there's a few different things that we can do, and there's actually a couple of things that I forgot to mention in this, because I forgot to mention transitions, which is going to be very important. So when they are, say, caught in a transition, so for everyone who isn't woke, that's a counter-attack. So let's say they got a load of players up here, blah, blah, blah. And Dinya's all the way up here. We win the ball. And let's say Agbenoni's got the ball here. Let's say Agbenoni's out wide. Hughes has got the ball. He's running really slowly. What they will do is that they will defend very narrow, in like kind of like this kind of thing. And then if there's anyone else, then they'll also defend quite narrow. That's generally what will happen. And you can probably already see maybe a potential weak link to this. But anyway, what are some exploits? So I'm going to very quickly share my other screen.
Sardiola.
That is going to be part of the thing. But I just want to share also. Oh, why isn't my... Oh, there we go. Oh, why can't I? That's really...
Try unsharing your tactics board and then sharing the other one.
No, it's all good. It was just, for some reason, my paint wasn't showing on the options for some reason, but it's there now. So you can... Oh, wait, sorry. I haven't put it on there. Thank you. So as you can see here, so this was against Bournemouth. They've got their 2 players there, 4 players there. Their defensive line is just off the screen here somewhere. Sorry, I didn't blow that one out. Yeah, but I'm sure what can you see is maybe a problem that could be exploited here, JC? So bear in mind their defensive line is around about here off the screen.
So what can be exploited?
Yeah, well, what do you think is maybe like not a problem, but could be maybe something that would push us forwards a little bit?
None of their players are anywhere near any other players, which is the first thing I'd look at. You say, okay, cool. But what I would also say is that I can see multiple passes through the lines that, because no one's anywhere near, they're not going to be able to do anything about it. So the centre back's on the ball. You can pass straight through the lines, straight in between Watkins and Rogers to that player, and then he can literally turn and pass straight through there.
This guy.
Well. Yeah, and then he can literally move left, and there's another pass straight through the lines there. And within 2 passes, you're playing Villa's game against Villa. In 2 passes, you're already running in on their defenders.
Yeah, so this is so it's one of 2 things I was going to kind of say. So, firstly, what I will say is they don't always look like this. Normally, their defensive line would be a lot closer, like here. But if you manage to kind of draw them out a little bit to this kind of area, then you'll start seeing a lot more gaps. So like JC said, there's options on, okay, yes, he's going to get closed down when this happens. But, you know, if you're smart about it, if you're quick about it, you can make something happen for sure. But one thing as well, I thought the biggest thing for me was this space here. So like I said, normally they wouldn't be this high, this line would not be this high up, Oh, sorry, that's the wrong one. Sorry. This line would not be this high up the pitch. Normally, it would be like sort of over here, and we would have the ball, say, like over here. But this space over here, I think, is going to be really important because we've got players who can definitely ping a ball into this space, right? So if we're able to do this, then all it takes is for a player to do that. And then, like you said, like what Villa like to do, you know, you have one player coming in here, another player to try and help them. And then when you're doing that, you're drawing a defensive line out of position. And then with that, potentially, you know, maybe this player receives that pass over the top. And then I think it's Pau Torres will be out of position. So then potentially Digne is going to have to cover. If you've then got, say, a right wing back who likes to get forwards, then potentially that's a lot of space for them to get into, potentially. This was something that I thought about their mid block is a bit thingy. Now, what about, you say, what if what if you know they are a bit deeper? Well, I think the same thing because we know, as Rich already said in the comments, they play a very high line regardless. So let's put them in their high line. So it would look something like this. So you got your two attacking players covering our pivot, and then it'll just basically look like a 4-4-2, etc., etc. Well, see, this is the thing. You got all of this space to run into, okay? I mean, they know that, obviously, but yeah.
It's almost like play Villa's game against Villa and you get results from it.
Yeah, but then you know what? I always notice this. Like, it always seems like the way a team plays attacking-wise is always their weakness in attack. It's really weird. Sorry, is their weakness when they're defending. Don't know. But again, we've got players like Lacroix will ping a ball over, maybe not Chalobah, but Gay and Lacroix, I think, will both be happy just to ping a long straight ball over the top for someone to run onto. And who do we have in our attacking three who's very quick? Ismailus.
Oh.
Oh, Heinz. But this is why I think Sarr is going to be important in this game because he'll be the one that can run into this space. Okay, he'll get here, and let's say that, you know, the defensive line looks a bit like this. Well, I'm not being funny. Kamara's not the first choice midfielder. Tielemans looks like he runs through treacle. So I think there will be a big gap in between here if you are able to force that lot. Well, maybe not a big gap, but enough of a gap for, say, Mateta or Agbenone, or even maybe like a late run-in midfielder to try and exploit. Obviously, if it goes really well, then, you know, you've got, you know, if you time it really well, then you got a 1v1 versus the goalkeeper which I need to point out, the goalkeeper is actually the fourth worst performing shot stopper in the league. He's conceded 4.4. No, sorry, not 4.4. It's 2.4 more goals this season than statistically he should have. So shot stopper wise, not that great. So I would back Sarr potentially in a 1v1 or maybe someone to run in over there. And that kind of brings me on to the next point. If, let's say, sorry, and then after this, you know, I think their main thing is defending transitions. I mean, let's be honest, most teams find it difficult to defend transitions, but I think that's a way that we can count them. So let's say we've won the ball up here. Like JC said, they commit a lot of players forward. So let's put these. Actually, no, let's do it the other side. So let's say they put these players forwards. I mean, in the example I'm going to show you in a minute, it's actually Johnny Cash. No, sorry, not Johnny Cash.
Matty Cash.
Matty Cash.
So I got Sean Derry the wrong way around. Johnny Cash.
Johnny Cash. So anyway, he was walking the line. Anyway,
Johnny Polish.
Johnny Polish. But you can, like I said, they defend very narrow here. So the example, I'm going to show you an example in a second of how this is going to be manipulatable. So let's move on to and this actually exploits another one of their defensive things. So they've got the ball here. What ends up happening, they end up passing the ball and then they just end up kicking it down the line, I presume, for Ollie Watkins to run into. This is Ipswich, by the way, so this isn't Man City or anything like that. This defender's going to receive the ball here. He's just going to pass it back, and like I said, if they're receiving the ball back like this, they will press in this particular instance. So they know this, and what they end up doing, and it kind of combines what we were talking about earlier, is the keeper goes long, and I think this is intentional. I don't think this is just to clear the ball or anything. I think this is intentional. Okay, they get a bit of luck here, but this player here wins the ball. And then suddenly you've got, I think this is their back three. And then this is their two midfielders, Onana and I don't know who that is.
Yeah, I think the ball drops to Hutchinson there, doesn't it?
Yeah. Ball drops to Hutchinson. And then he turns out and then plays a really nice pass to the left-hand side to Jack Clark, I think that is. Bearing in mind, again, their defenders are still over here. And then this is what happens. This is Leif Davis. Sorry, apologies. Leif Davis. He runs with the ball. Now, because they defend so narrow, you can't see. Oh, actually, sorry. One thing I did forget to say. Watch this player here. So this is Digne, and this is 21. I don't know who 21 is, but watch this player here. So then back to here. So bear in mind, Digne's over here, and so is 21. What they do is really clever because of the way Villa defend transitions, is that their players have come over here to try and deal with it. This player here has made this player here. I think that's not Delap. I don't know who that is. This player, I think Schmodix, has made a very good run here. So this defender's occupied. Now what they've done is they've actually overloaded this side of the pitch. So you can see here, they've overloaded this side. So Digne's has to deal with two people. Him being a natural fullback, he's probably thought about this player first. But instead, it's Delap who's made a very good run. And admittedly, it is a very good pass as well. But Delap's got a 1v1. He doesn't score. But I think that is a very good blueprint to how you can attack them. So
you can send their centre-backs just by making dummy runs, really.
Yeah, exactly. So you make dummy runs and then make sure you overload the other side of the pitch, and then you can go through there. And, this could very easily be like Delap is Mateta, 21 is Sarr, or any combo, or even this is Munoz, this is Sarr, this is Mateta. Do you know what I mean? Like, we got the players there who can definitely execute something like this. And maybe Hutchinson, there was maybe, say, Eze. Oh, no, not Eze. He's not playing, is he? Was maybe someone else, one of our other not injured players. But, all they've got to do is just turn out and just play that pass.
That could be Glasner,
Yeah, it could be Glasner. But yeah, so that's the way I think we could attack them there. Let's go back to here and just make sure I've got it. The only other thing I would say is, and catching them in transition, it seemed like Onana was the only player who seems to track back. So I'm assuming Kamara would probably do it in his stead. But I don't know. But either way, Tielemans ain't getting back anytime soon. He'll probably get back like 5 years later.
No, in Tielemans, he'll score a screamer.
Yeah, probably. But yeah, that's what I would say there. The only other thing is maybe worth talking about is when I was saying earlier about how they go man for man on the wings when they're defending. Obviously, if they're just defending, say, a 2v2 or whatever, all you've got to do is overlap that side. Overload that side. So if they got Munoz and Sarr here, let's do it the other way around. So Sarr's holding the width, Munoz is here, etc. All it takes then is for a Lerma and then Chalobah to push up in midfield, say, to then overload that side, and then you've got a 3v2 instead. Something like this, okay? Or if it's not Lerma, maybe Chalobah goes there. I don't know, but either way, find someone to go into this kind of space, and then there won't necessarily be a big space here, but 3v2. Hopefully, you can get something and then go down the lines and then cross the ball in or something like that. But that's pretty much all I have to say about Aston Villa's defence and how we can attack them. So, as I was saying before, I think balls over the top, try and hit them with that high line. We've got Sarr, who's very quick. And actually, one thing I did forget to say, which I think is important. So, Ezri Konsa, I mean, this is when I assume Ezri Konsa will also be playing centre-back. So let's say he's playing centre-back. He's won 80% of his aerial duels this season, so obviously very good in the air. Pau Torres, however, has only won 33% of his aerial duels, which combine that with Sarr playing on that right-hand side where Torres will be the centre-back. If you ping a ball over the top, would you back Torres to deal with that? I'm not 100% sure. And just to back up kind of what I'm saying, when I was talking about shot creating actions, which they have like an above average amount conceded that are dribbling based, which to me, obviously, if you're counter attacking, then you're probably going to be dribbling. And I think that's why I think they are susceptible to that kind of attack. And I think if they go a goal down, I think they will chuck everything at it. I think we just need to be mindful and try and catch them on the break again, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's one of them things of... It's very similar to us, actually. If we go a goal down and then we throw everything to go forwards and then we go another goal down off of just of our mistake or something, then we'll just fall apart. And that has happened to Villa. It happened to them against Tottenham and quite badly as well. Because they went ahead, they went 1-0 up, and it went back down to 2-1 to Tottenham, and they threw everyone on, and then they went bang bang again. So even though they threw everything forwards, isn't always the best idea. So Emery will compromise defense in order to attack. So if you can hit them again, like let's just say hypothetically we're in that situation where we are ahead, if they throw everything on. If we're in that situation, if we can catch him on the break, get a goal, I guess against a run of play, we could make them fall apart. So they're not an invincible team, not by any means.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think it's also worth pointing out that they will be playing Juventus in the Champions League on the Tuesday or Wednesday or whatever it is after we play them. So
they might not go full strength. I'm sure they will, but they might not.
Yeah, I do think as well, and I said this to JC backstage, I think there is a possibility this game is going to be terrible. And the reason why I say that is that I do think when Villa want to or they need to, I think they do have the potential to make games really, really boring and with very few chances in it. So for example, when they played Man United, where is it? Where's that gone? When they played Man United, I said it wrong earlier. When they played Man United at home, there was a 0-0 draw in match week 7. They created 0.5 xG, but they only allowed Man United 0.9 xG. So,
dead game.
Yeah, and obviously when we went there last year, when we lost 1-0, I can't remember. But I remember that being a dreadful game as well. So, of
course. Let's get on to score predictions. I'll go first. I'm going to think it'll be 2-0 Villa. Because I do think that they'll score. I do think they've got enough firepower up front. Chalobah's a good defender, but I think against Watkins, if Watkins knows he's got a mistake in him, he's going to try and abuse that. And he's had 3 clangers in the last 2 games. So I'm sure that he will fix up, but they're going to be targeting him.
Yeah. No, that's fair.
I'd say 2-0.
I think he'll be 1-0. I think to Villa. I think it'll be a pretty drab game of football. But I think they'll eke it out, to be honest. Although it is worth pointing out, they haven't actually won in 5 games, but then I suppose we are a charity professional football club, so we would be that team. But yeah, I think it's going to be a drab game, and I don't think a lot's going to decide it, to be honest.
Fair enough. No more comments from now until the end, actually. So, Dan, is there anything else that you want to say before we round out?
No, just thanks again, everyone watching.
Let's hope the outro plays when I click the button. But as always, up the bloody palace. I'm happy
Yeah.
football's back.
Up the palace.
Yeah, see the tears through the smile. It didn't do it. It didn't do it. I'm playing the outro. I'm playing the outro manually.